Hi, hello, this is JulesTheHuman here, and welcome to the JulesTheHuman Anime Hour. I'm one of your hosts, JulesTheHuman, and every week we go out into the world and watch a little bit of anime, and then we come back here to talk about it. And today we're talking about episode 5 through 8 of Erased. Last week we watched the first 4 episodes. So if you haven't seen the first 4 episodes or haven't seen episode 5 through 8, go back, go check it out. Go check out our first episode of Erased, but also go check out all the other anime we've already done because we've done so many anime. This is just the anime we've done with season 2. We're like on episode 800 or something. I don't know, 70 episodes or so of this podcast. We've been doing this, and this is how we shape it out for season 2. We have so many more anime to go. There's so much to watch and so much to talk about, but I'm not here alone. I go on this journey with my co-host, Matt Galley, who's just coming back. Matt, how are you?
I am so good. I got to see, as Minecraft people would know it, I got to see a new biome, and I got to have a lot of fun. I got to enjoy a little short vacation, nothing too crazy. But,
where did you go? Well, not specifically, but like
Illinois and Wisconsin.
And where are you normally from?
California.
Oh,
and
man.
I've only been outside of California, and I haven't seen all of California even. I've never really been San Fran or NorCal, just SoCal. So yeah, it was just really interesting to see new sounds. Yeah, that's what I did.
It was actually
experience new
yes.
sounds, sights, smells, tastes, and it was just a lot of fun. I had a good time.
That's
nice,
awesome.
refreshing.
Very cool.
But I'm very excited to continue our first impressions of Erased here because I mean,
well,
it's I was, as you had the chart up there a moment ago, I was looking at Trigun Stampede, just like, man, I just need something like a little bit more fun and silly because this is, man, like,
we've been on a roller coaster,
and we will talk about it, but it is emotional, and it is full of subject matter.
And I guess, I do want to do like an overview because we watched 8 episodes already. And hi, hello, thank you so much for joining us live. Let us know in the chats wherever you're watching, on Twitter, on Twitch, on YouTube, wherever you're watching us live. Throw a little emote in there and we'll put you up on the screen. But I do kind of want to go over like a little overview before we dive into each episode, because I don't know about you, and we don't talk about this before, but I'm in on the ride, and I wanted to ask, are you in it? Because I feel like with these episodes and this show, it's giving me that real mystery vibe, because I really don't know who it is, and I really don't know who it could be. And it's not like where it's, in some shows it's so obvious, it's directing you in a certain way, and it's like, okay, we're delaying the inevitable. I already figured it out 5 episodes ago. What are we doing? But then it's also not like, I don't know what's going on. It's not one of those, like, it's perfect in the middle where I'm on the ride trying to figure it out as the show is going, trying to figure out what's going on, who's the people or person that's behind this. And it's giving me just enough to like want to keep watching. It gives me like a little clue here in each episode, and I'm just like, oh, what does that mean? What's going on here? So are you on the ride with the show?
I think the story beats and like the pacing of this show is pretty dang good up until one point that I want to talk about in episode 6. In episode 6, where as I was watching it, I kind of felt like up to a certain point, everything was very relayed in a straightforward sense, where it was like, helping me do that. Oh, this is that, and this connects to that, and like, yeah, it was helping me put together my whiteboard of chaos. But then there's one point where it did kind of send me for a loop, and I like to think that the show didn't lose me with that part, and that I'm just kind of like overthinking it too much, so to speak. Because there are a few things where I am unsure what the context of it is like right now, but I want to hold off to the end to see what things might connect to.
Sure. I
really full conclusion, but at least up to this point, yeah, I'm here for the ride, if not to just get that conclusion of like, the whole, I need to see where the whiteboard's leading.
And I'm curious if this is going to be an anime where once we do get the finality of it, this is this person, or are we even going to get that at the end of this season? We don't even know that yet for sure. But I wonder if this is gonna Yeah, I think there's only one season. I think this is going to either give us something. I don't know. What do you think it's going to be? Either it's going to give us the ending and then we're going to be like, oh, if we rewatch it back, it's going to be good. Or do you even think that we're going to have an ending?
I think that we're gonna have an ending. I really like to think that with the way with the way the story's been paced out and everything. But as this as the story proceeds further, I just get very uneasy as to whether or not it's gonna be an ending that I want to see.
Sure. Yes,
Like,
definitely.
I'm worried. I'm anxious about what the outcome for these characters is because, like, it just keeps, in a lot of ways, it keeps going from bad to worse. In a sense of the main character Satoru even says that himself at one point, where he's like, "There's this guy. I had this idea for a story where like somebody keeps trying to help, and things just keep getting worse from him trying to help." And I hate to think that that's the foreshadowing that everything that he's done here is just going to lead to some reality in the future where things are so much worse off.
Mm-hmm.
I
And
hate to think that, but
you said something there about the anxiety, and I did want to touch on that as well with the feeling and being in this story, because I am feeling the anxiety from this show. I am feeling the tense moments that they want me to feel. I'm feeling the emotions that they want me to feel. So it's doing a really good job of doing that, at least so far. Up until episode 8, I'm there and I'm like, I'm biting my nails, bro, again. And I'm just like, oh man, oh, I'm here. Oh my goodness. Thorn Rose says it reminds me of a little bit of The Butterfly Effect. I loved The Butterfly Effect. Such a good movie. The second one was not great, but I really enjoyed it.
yeah, that was
It's
such a good movie. I know
we all
why
watched
that
it.
would be a good movie. I know
Yeah,
the idea that the movie presents, but
it had Ashton
I
Kutcher.
was
It
born in
was
'97, so I think that was a little bit a little too young for that
it
cultural zeitgeist moment.
it's so random that movie I think to me holds the test of time, and I've seen it so many times. I don't know why. It was just some random movie and it was just really good for me. Probably if I watched it right now it wouldn't be great, but it is like he goes back in time by reading a notebook. He goes back to his past events and he keeps coming back and forth, but every time he changes a little bit of his current life. And it's like, oh my god, I didn't know that was going to happen, and then he chooses to go back sometimes. It's kind of like that. It's definitely a butterfly effect because of the little butterfly, and you know the thing. Let's get into it. Episode 5 from Erased. Episode 5, Getaway. What happens in episode 5?
Satoru finds that Hinazuki has gone missing again, and after witnessing her mom throw out the gloves that she was knitting for him, Satoru finds himself sent back to the present day. Once again, in the hot seat for the murder of his mother, Satoru struggles to find reliable help in the present day. Katagiri helps him hide out, also realizing that his actions have indeed changed things in the present. Katagiri also accidentally blows Satoru's cover, and also shares some of her family's history with him. Finding herself then becoming a target of the murderer, Katagiri gets caught in a house fire.
Who, bro, the way that we get into this episode, um, man,
Yeah.
okay, it really threw me off. So there's something, I forgot who said it, and it's kind of a foreshadowing to what you were talking about, how there's this underlying thing and anxiety of, is he going to actually change it for the better? Is he going to actually change his timeline for the good? And I think it was his mom, actually, maybe his mom, but there was a quote that I have here that seemed important that says, there's only so much one person can do. And that's kind of like the reoccurring theme, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
he's trying to do so much, and that even comes up later when he actually has his friends help him out, and that's a big plot point there.
Yep.
But there's only so much one person can do. um a second child disappears, Aya, from another school, and then he comes back to the future, bro. I was not expecting us to ever see the future again until
I
the
wasn't either.
end.
And I mentioned that in our last episode where I was comparing this to Tokyo Revengers, in that show, because of the time travel aspect, it can have some it can lead to inconsistencies with a time travel narrative. That's just something that's inherently there. But this show manages to, I think, pull it off in a direction where it's able to keep its like canon well structured, because it like takes us to a very pivotal point And it's not like every time I go back, it's like this set amount of time, which is what Tokyo Revengers is. Once once like the things have happened, they're done. There's no going back again. But it's almost like this show, by the narrative, by giving him another chance to go back when he was literally calling. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. That's next episode. That's episode 7. My bad. But he gets sent back to the present, and it manages to do something that I like with the whole aspect of it's the subtle things that we've already been presented, like how X Day, the whole concept that he was like, we got to stop X Day. So it keeps very close to those structural beats, and that's what I think is like helping it.
Yeah, and that keeps
itself structurally sound.
Yeah, and that keeps the viewer, staying on focus of what's happening, what's actually, because time travel stuff and all this can, somewhat get confusing. I think I know what part you're talking about when they're just kind of giving you some exposition in episode 6, I think it is, or somewhere along these 4 episodes where I was just like, okay, I gotta think a little bit harder than I have been. So it's like, okay, so I know this stuff can get confusing with the whole going back about what changed, what didn't change, and they're showing you things without actually explaining some stuff. And I'm like, okay, but like my mystery mind, my head that wants to figure it out is like looking for these things and trying to connect the dots.
Exactly. And that's why, like, when again, sometimes like it can be, the show's very good at like show don't tell, right? It Satoru getting sent back, and it's been all of this rediscovery and trying to find the the right steps to keep Hinazuki out of danger. But then when later on we get introduced, and even as we go back to the present, everything is kept very straightforward in that regard. And I feel like the episode 5 handles that very well. But yeah, it's definitely in the next episode where it just kind of like a big chunk of the episode is just kind of a lot of dialogue expository stuff that's just helping help the mystery and the intrigue build as it's revealed, like, it's much bigger than we initially thought type deal.
Yeah. In this episode,
it does it, but it's just
it's a lot. Yeah. In this episode, we get our first instance of possibly somebody being against Satoru or being against all of this being found out, because there was some throwaway line as well that the police received a tip about this, because you mentioned in last episode, like the police showed up really fast. And I was like, oh yeah, I didn't even think about that part, but it does say that the police received a tip that this was happening. Yeah. Because I didn't even notice that. I was just like, okay, maybe, I don't know, they're walking down the street. So
but then so yeah, it definitely draws, it just that one throwaway line draws more credence to the fact that whoever this guy is, or gal who's doing all this, they are like they know what they're doing. They're covering their steps very well.
We do later find out that they covered their steps enough in the past to never be found out and to possibly be trying to cover it up still. So they do have something on everybody else. They are a step or two ahead of everybody else.
And it's stuff like that definitely helps build the dread aspect of it, where you're just waiting for the next thing to happen, which eventually does.
I gotta say, I didn't think I was gonna like Katagiri as much, because I didn't think we were gonna see her ever again until the end or something. I really like Katagiri. She is great. The Ari now. She's helping him because she gives this whole long storyline how her dad's like life fell apart because of his stolen chocolate and stuff. But it was more than that. His divorce, his whole life changed, and everything, being branded as a thief, the possibility
all of that stemmed from a simple situation where, like, nobody believed the fact that he didn't steal this chocolate bar. And it's just like, to me, I know it sounds so silly, but I'm just like, are we really calling the police over a chocolate bar? Are we really so prideful that we can't apologize over a chocolate bar being found in our pocket? But I get it's the principalities.
And they said, like, they did say that adults in it was a small town or something, and it could be people talk, and it is understandable. I
Like,
mean,
it all makes sense within the story for sure.
it's
But
definitely not my reality.
I know in me, if I was ever found in a store with stolen property on my person, I don't know, like I didn't put that there. Like I'm
Yeah, like, oh dang, I thought I paid for that. Oh my bad.
It's just it seems a little. It seems like I don't know. It's just it makes sense within the narrative itself, but I'm just
And it's
like
fine.
taking in the story, and it's just I'm laughing about it.
Yeah, it is an odd story for her to tell, but it is her life. That's what she grew up, and now whatever it was, it makes her believe in Satoru that much more and believe that you would not do this.
Sure.
Especially because we just in her timeline, she just had that dinner with them
Yeah.
and she met and she knew how they were together, and she was like, no, he would never do that, and she
Yeah.
believes him. And
So it's
that
definitely
belief,
multiple things.
yeah, and that belief is just so good because it's unwavering. It is, I will do this for you. And it could be naivety because she is younger, because she is still a high school student. But I like to believe it's that good in people or good in humanity that it's like, yes, I will believe you because I think I know you and I have this blind faith in you because of this, my situation and with how I've seen you with your mother, and you would never do that. And I believe you and I trust you. And I love that.
Uh, it's totally random aside. I was watching a movie on not random, but I'll make a point of it. I was
Sure.
watching on my return flight. I decided to watch a movie on the flight home. Watch the first Pirates of the Caribbean. Still
Oh.
holds up. But there's a point where it's right near the middle, and like Jack says to Will something along the lines of like, "Have I ever given you a reason not to trust me?" And it's like, bro, yes, you
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
Like, you have given him many reasons
Consistently.
not to trust you. Yeah,
Yeah.
consistently. That's what this whole movie has been about so far. But in this case, yeah, it's like one of those things where has he ever given her a reason like not to trust her? Like everything that he's ever, all their interactions have always just been like, very casual, very nonchalant. But then, like you said, they have the dinner with his mom and everything, and it's there's obviously something awry. There's no reason for her to think that he would do something like that. However, you have the opposite side of the coin showcased with the works manager, who is just somebody who's going to blindly trust that the law and justice was gonna happen and needs to be brought to the forefront. Whatever it is that's going through his mind that makes him several times try to put Satoru directly in the line of fire until Adi finally, just gives them a good fucking
Old
shiner.
punch.
Yeah,
I
she
think it
laid him
was,
out.
yeah, I think it was very interesting that they painted him as lawful good and the way they did it in some little frames, because I remember specifically like they spent time on his picture on his wall, which is like the Last Supper. If you know, it's like Christianity. And
They literally showed that, and I thought the Last Supper. I wonder what that means. So yes, please.
it's definitely just, I looked at it and I was like, why are they spending a couple of moments here while they're together, while they're having a good time? And it's to set up the way that he is, because he is this lawful good character that has a moral compass, but in this situation it is not good and is directed in the wrong way, but he thinks it's right, and he'll do, while trying to be a good person to Satoru still, and being like, hey, I'm still going to feed you, I'm still going to, try and keep you good here and keep me good in your eyes, but I'm doing this other thing because I think this is the right way to do it with the law and stuff like that. So it was really interesting. They played it out so well in so little frames, and you're like, oh, this guy, oh no, what are you doing? And just the juxtaposition between Ari and the manager, and it was just really good. I really like the characterization of them, and I love that we came to the future again, which is really cool. We gotta get going. Episode 6, Grim Reaper.
Oh, yeah.
What happens in episode 6 of Erased?
Satoru saves Katagiri with the help of the manager at work. Satoru calling up Sachiko's old work friend, who gives Satoru the resources to look into the history of the murder cases. Now equipped with the timeline of Hinazuki's death, as well as a list of potential culprits, Katagiri shares with Satoru that one of the city councilmen has been acting extremely shady, even though the manager has been cooperative, before the police arrive to arrest Satoru. Him then noticing someone in the crowd having the same eyes that he saw the night his mother was murdered.
Oh man. First off, Satoru going inside the house immediately, just bolting in there.
Not a single
Love this
thought.
dude. Love that we have a great, main character. So, how do you feel about Satoru? Because I'm thinking, like, in my head, I just really like him as a main character. A lot of the times, I love, we've talked about it, where we love the side characters. Side characters become your favorite part of the show, and we have this dumb, whatever, expository reason for this main character to be talking, and it's like, you don't have enough personality. I like all these other characters that you surround yourself with more. Satoru is becoming one of my favorite main characters. A lot of his little quirks about talking when he's trying to just think, but he speaks it. Him having the moral compass, be like, "Oh, you're 29. Fucking knock it off. Whatever."
Pull yourself together.
Yeah, pull yourself together. You're 29. Let's get it together. And him just running in there. How do you feel about Satoru right now?
I definitely think he's a very likable protagonist. I like how, since the show's beginning, we can kind of see him changing over time as kind of becoming the hero that he needs to be in order to make this situation have the best outcomes possible. Because he's very much in a unfavorable situation. He's not put in the driver's seat the whole time. It's almost as if in a lot of ways the narrative happens to him, and then he has to do something in response, and then it's just more the narrative happens to him, because there's this presence that's constantly lurking. And even in some of the shots, the wide shots where it just shows him like running across and then it cuts away to the next thing, I'm like, is that supposed to be him just being watched? Like, what's going on with some of like the some of the cinematography? I think he's a very likable protagonist to see overcome these situations that are being presented to him, because it's stuff that could cause a person to break very easily,
for sure.
And we see him have those moments of like recollection and contemplation where he doesn't even realize like he started to cry. He like tears are rolling down his face and he doesn't even like realize why. He doesn't even
because he has no time.
Realize it. Yeah, there's no time to think. And so yeah, that's I think that's what makes him so likable, is that he acknowledges as time goes forward, he acknowledges the fact that time is running out, literally, and we see him have more of a sense of urgency in like everything that he's doing, more care and attention to detail in everything that he's doing, and he's just somebody that you want to see come out on the other side after all this shit, man. Like, I want that happy ending for him, but it's just the show is giving that it's not
either one. I don't know. But
I don't know.
You did mention those moments where he has, and it does happen usually when he sees his mom again and he's just crying, and it just gives you those emotions with him. Like, we're along with the ride. We haven't had any times to stop, and it's just a pause, and it's like, here we are.
It doesn't have to be like, this whole breakaway of like, oh my god, I love everybody so much. I'm like I'm forgetting the word for it, but we never see him really reach that point of fully like expressing his feelings and emotions entirely. I feel like the show does a way better job of just showing his actions, and his actions speak for, like, he doesn't say I love my mom. He sees his mom after being in a timeline where she was killed, and he sees her again and he just starts crying without realizing it. And you don't have to be told, oh, this character loves his mom. Like, you get that. And that happens with a lot of the other characters too. It starts to happen more with like Hinazuki as well, but we'll get there when we get there. But yeah, on Satoru being like a protagonist, I definitely think that's one of the things that's keeping me drawn into the show so much, is just wanting to see something good happen to him.
We get the introduction of this new character, Sawada, who's the one that was co-workers with his mother. We get a lot of exposition about what's going on. The culprit frames people. He's framed Hinazaki's murder in the past, and he gives a culprit list of who could it possibly be. And there's a lot of names on there, names that we haven't heard of before. But it is very interesting. I think this is the moment that you were talking about, right? Where it's like,
Yes.
this is just a lot of exposition.
Yeah.
New character. Okay, here's the info dump. Here's the stuff that I've been working on. And let me share it with you.
Withholding of information that's been happening to this point.
Mhm.
Hi, Bubsy.
Hello.
And that is what got me for sure.
It was weird the way they did it, right? Because he just started talking and we're like, oh shit, okay, here we are. Gave us a lot of information, and I think it is just a device to get us to that next stage.
Yeah,
And
like
it was needed.
I acknowledge that it was like, there's like, if we're going to want to see him succeed, if he's going to go back in the past again, he can't go back under the same like context. We need to change what's going on, otherwise there's no reason to like bring him back to the present, so to speak. So we've got to have some developments in the present in order for the like context of the story to kind of work from where it's going. But again, my point last week was that I really thought this was just going to be like a long form, I'm going back to the past to fix something, and it's just that he's stuck until all the things are fixed. And I thought that's what it was going for. I don't know, like, if that would have been as anxiety inducing and as like, have as much of a sense of urgency, because I think this whole part of sending him back to the present really kind of like reignites that light under him to remind him that, like, the way you did things before wasn't good enough. So we're going to give him some tools to redouble down on his like sense of urgency.
Because we find out that things can change in the future, that things did change that first time that he did it. It just wasn't enough. And we find out that he can possibly will this thing to happen, because as he's getting arrested and as he sees the guy that he passed going down the stairs, he sort of, I don't know, what do you think it was? Was it like his emotions ran high, or like how would you justify this happening where he's like, I gotta go back, this is not the way?
I don't know. Like, it's I think it might be the fact that it always happens so he can go back to prevent a disaster from happening. And the first time he went back, it was to prevent, the whole disaster of his mother being killed. He was discovered and stuff. Whatever he did wasn't good enough, so he got sent back to the present where things were kind of in turmoil, but not like that first one. He already failed it, so until then another disaster happens, he's stuck in the present. And I think the disaster was, he's actually getting arrested. Now he's in handcuffs and he's being taken away, so now he has to go back and change it. And I think that's why he acknowledges, like, this is my last chance. Like, I'm not, like, I'm in present, I'm in cuffs. And if I do not change things right now and right here, I will go back to the present and I will be taken away in those cuffs.
And if they did that, if they do it more times, then I think it would have, have diminishing returns. I like that he did it once. He did state, this is the last time. This is all I got. Here we are. We got to go balls to the wall. I got to make some big changes here. And I like that because, again, it adds, like you said, it adds to the urgency. It adds to what's going on. It adds to the story. And especially because we saw the guy there, and I really did.
So now we know that, like, not only was the guy that murdered his mom, like, just like in the force right there with the police, what, like, I'm pretty sure that's supposed to imply like he's in the system,
Well, wasn't there people around as well?
I guess
watching?
Yeah, he looks like a bystander. Never mind.
Yeah,
but
because I thought there was a couple other people.
But the whole time, like, he's right there. He's just right there,
just watching,
yeah,
seeing what he did. Like, this is what he's doing, and he wants to see it
and he's that
happen.
close to it happening.
Yeah, it's
Which
so
is,
menacing. It's
yeah, it's
so
very
crazy.
menacing.
I do like the hero statements, and I think we get one when he's in the past as well to Kenya. But I love his like hero statement to Katagiri, how he's like, "What's the perfect thing to say? What would I say here in a perfect
Did like
world?"
that.
And like, I like that he is doing that kind of stuff because like it shows his true self. I mean, him running
Yeah.
in for her, like you have no time to think, and this was your action. Like that shows that you're a good person. That's courage. That's everything that a hero should be. When you
Yeah.
don't think about it, what is your instant reaction? And he exemplifies that quite a few times in the show so far. So I'm like really enjoying his character development, or us, you know, taking a peek into who he is, which is really dope. Episode 7, Out of Control. What happens in episode 7?
Satoru gets another revival, sending him back to right before the shared birthday party with Hinazuki. Then, doubling down on his efforts, he decides he will leave no regrets this time. Kenya directly asks Satoru who he is, as he seems to be displaying another personality within him. Satoru decides he can trust Kenya, who seems to be genuinely worried about him and Hinazuki. Satoru gives Yuki an alibi, then asking Hinazuki if she is willing to run away. Satoru and Kenya set up Hinazuki in an abandoned bus where she acknowledges that everything that is happening is all she's ever wanted. However, it seems that someone is aware that Hinazuki is taking refuge on the bus.
Oh man.
I yelled at the TV when this shot, that last shot. I was just like, "Are you kidding me?" I was just
Oh my god.
very, very upset.
Yeah, for sure. In this episode, it was great. I loved this episode for a few different moments because one, he goes back in time. We're not playing games here. We have to make some big changes, and we see that he thinks about what's going on. He's like, okay, here are the characters, here are the little, you know, chess pieces. How do I make sure that this doesn't happen again? He gets Yuki, and he's like, okay, let me give him an alibi. Let's get the police over there so they know he's here, because he got planted some CP in his room, and it's like, oh yeah, he's the guy because he had this, but it was planted by the real killer abductor. The cool part, not the cool part, but the crazy part. Well, one, I mentioned the Kenya, you know, confrontation where he was like, he says, he's like, I'm just trying to be a superhero. And then Kenya's like, you already are a superhero, man. Let's just do it together. I love that. Love that. So good. But also
I'm
when
sorry for doubting you, Kenya.
yeah, I sorry. Well, hold on.
I know. Yeah, I know.
I
But
still got some. I'm
yeah.
like this. I'm like,
Yeah,
Kenya,
this
just
is
like,
side eye. It's the side eye. It's the Ray. It's the Ray in him.
He's got the Ray vibes for sure from Promised Neverland. But
Yeah.
another moment I really liked is that he was willing to go all the way to kill her mom, to push her down the stairs. And I love that they did a close up on his face, and he had red eyes.
Had red eyes.
He had the red eyes. I'm like, wait, this show is so good because again, the mystery is just like, we don't know who it is. We don't know what's going on. Nobody completely moral center really in the context of the story. But like now I'm like, is Satoru the one? Did Satoru kill his mom? Everybody's in suspects right now.
It's
I'm like,
literally the meme of the guy holding the gun to his own back.
Yeah. He's like, why did you do this? Like, I'm literally like about to connect the red yarn to his name because I was like, what are you doing? He had the red eyes, and I was like,
came back full circle.
Yeah, I was like, hold on, it was you? Because that was beautiful. I love that they added the red. I was like, you know, they know what they're doing.
They do.
They knew what they're doing because everybody when they had like a bad thought or like you thought they were the culprit, they had red eyes. And then Satoru in that moment had it. Whoo, so good.
Eyes of a
so
killer.
Much. Yeah, for sure. He's changed in the past, or at least trying to. They make the hideout in the bus, abducted her onto the bus, and then at the end, a man enters the bus. And how tense was that?
I was so upset. I was just
wait,
like,
why were you upset? Why were you yelling?
I thought that, like, you know, I was like, are you like, she's gonna get killed? Like, I thought he was aware, like, that she's there, and that's what he was there for.
Oh, okay.
I thought they had just, at one point when they're pulling up to the bus, it shows that, like, there's just clear tracks in the snow leading up to it.
Yeah.
There was just too much that made me think that, like, it was just going to be all bad. I'm glad it wasn't, but oh my goodness, I was like, we just came back to the past, and we just got this whole thing about him being a superhero and him not making any mistakes and yada yada yada, and the narrative is going to, like, send us that direction.
So something that was mentioned early on that never was mentioned before was that these kids did have a hideout already. And I don't know if I missed it or not, but I remember the first couple episodes, they're like, we promised to never go back to the hideout until the snow went away or something. Why didn't they use that hideout? And like,
there's still snow.
That okay? Well,
if they said it was because we're not going back till the snow's gone, then yeah, it's because the snow.
Okay, I didn't know if the bus was their hideout, but because he did explain like it was this school's something or other.
The school just got a new bus, so that bus is just kind of hanging out.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know if I missed it where they're like, this is the hideout we were talking about in the first couple of episodes. So
I don't think so.
Okay, definitely. But now we have her abducted, and it kind of kicks off here, and this episode 8 is really interesting. How do you feel? I know we gave our like sort of side eyes to Kenya, but Kenya's on Satoru's side, as far as we know. I mean, he's helping them to just figure it out. He doesn't ask questions. He's like, I get it. And he's always been the smarter one. And he's like, yeah, let's do it. I found this hideout. I have this place. Let's keep her there. And let's just, deal with it. And even Satoru was like, I'll take the blame for it all if anything comes to it. But how do you feel about Kenya as a character? Because we never really talked about him.
I did mention him, like the most I've mentioned about him is just the Ray vibes, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's just like in the first 4 episodes, when you see him in those asides with the
teacher,
class teacher, it just has like a menacing-ish vibe. And the teacher just still doesn't exactly sit right with me. Like it's like you said, it continues to be like, I don't know who did it. The show continues to drive that uncertainty factor through the roof, while at the same time feeling like it's still providing a good mystery that's keeping you involved as the story progresses.
Mm-hmm.
Kenya in these 4 episodes, I feel like or 3 that he's mostly involved in, take him to a point where like he seems like a good, reliable friend that just wants to help, but
because he showcased that he's smarter than the rest.
Yeah,
like he's the one that noticed that Satoru was acting different. I mean, Yuki did kind of. He just said, "Oh, you've grown up really quick.
You're being more mature." Yeah,
you're being more mature. But Kenya was like,
"You have 2 people inside of you."
Yeah, he set the plan. He was like, "Yo, remember that book inside of you? There too." He's like, "Yo, remember that book I lent you a couple days ago?" Yeah. He's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot." And then he's like, "I caught this motherfucker. I got him right here. What's going on?" So he is definitely smarter than the rest, which again throws up the red flags. But I definitely want to talk about our predictions at the end of like what. But I just want to get your general vibes about
I didn't even catch that myself, to be honest. I thought he was just trying to like. I thought it was just trying to be like a subtle symbolic thing that
I never looked up the book.
I did look it up, and it's a fake book. There's no book that
Pose
like that. Yeah,
the Switched Man.
Yeah, the Switched Man. So like that was making me think, a reference to him switching from present and past. And then it's like, oh, it doesn't even exist.
I thought he knew even further that he was coming. I thought he was going to ask, "Are you from the future?" or something. I thought he was going to like straight up just ask that. Like somehow he figured it out. But it was a step below that.
I thought it was just. I thought exactly. I noticed that, and I guess that's all I thought it was, that the Switched Man was supposed to be kind of like a thing that he was saying that he's doing. He's like switching between like 2 different personalities, the Switched Man, saying that's what Satoru is. But I don't know if it's me and somebody was like, "Hey, remember that thing I lent you?" Like blah 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 blah. I'm definitely the person to be like, "Oh yeah, Totally.
Yeah. Remember we had that conversation about that one thing? It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
dude, for sure.
You can tell me something happened, dude. If it's a few days ago, I don't even remember what I happened for breakfast or what I had for breakfast. Or what happened for breakfast, I guess.
Yeah, and
Anyways.
you wouldn't want to be confrontational. And you just be
Yeah,
like,
exactly,
yeah,
exactly. Like, this
yeah,
is my friend, and they're just, asking me about this thing.
yeah.
So,
They're just yapping.
um, I didn't even catch that though. That's definitely what he was pulling. He was like, he caught him red-handed with that
Mhm.
thing. Now I don't even feel as smart as a fifth grader. Sheesh.
Yeah, as far as episode 8, Spiral. What happened in episode 8 of Erased?
Whoever stepped onto the bus leaves without approaching Hinazuki, seeming to not know that she was there. Satoru continues to visit her, hiding this from his mother. The class teacher, along with Child Protective Services, do a visit on Hinazuki's house, but her mother and her boyfriend are both missing. Hinazuki gives Satoru the mitts that she promised to finish, him then realizing that they are still stuck inside the murder loop. Enacting Plan B, Satoru reveals to his mom that Hinazuki has been accompanying them while the school has been whipped into a fuss over her being missing. Sachiko informs the class teacher that Hinazuki is safe. He then asks a favor out of her off camera. Sachiko dotes on Hinazuki for the night before they go back to Hinazuki's house, confronting her mother.
Oh my god, I love this episode. This is probably my favorite episode.
This is the best episode so far.
This
for
is
sure.
so good. So we got to go in order here. So the guy leaves, nothing really happens, and
He dumps out his backpack.
He dumps out his
Or
backpack.
he leaves his backpack, sorry.
Leaves his backpack. It has all the abduction stuff. I guess we could talk about that because I want to talk about the mom. But he leaves all his stuff there in the bus, and then they realize that, oh, it's still happening. This was all the stuff that they said happened, or at that they info dumped on us on what actually happened to her body. It was the mom and the boyfriend or husband, I guess, boyfriend. I don't know. They beat her up and threw her into the shed, and then somebody took her out, took her out, did something, then put her back in to freeze her, to spray this stuff to make her freeze faster, and then the body was back by the morning. I'm not like completely sure what's
going on. That's all right.
And then that's what happened. And then the parent or the mom got her out or something, and then found out that she was dead. I guess that was a series of events. But all that stuff that was used whenever they explained that situation was all there in his backpack, and he's still in the timeline of what's actually happening. It just kind of missed him for one day or so. So they think that it still will eventually happen. There's so many moving parts here because we also get the teacher doing some investigating of the mom's place, bro. Okay, we'll talk about it at the end. I think I want to save it for the end. But the teacher doing this stuff, really interesting. That's another moving part. And then we have the more fun stuff, man, and the stuff that I really like, because I want to put his mom on this here, and I don't think you would object,
I think we've settled on that.
because man, like, she's just doing mom things, like you put in this thing, just mom things. She knows what her son is doing. Of course, being a mom, she's like, I know what you're doing, but I'm gonna let you do it and think that you're doing it by yourself. But here, let me tell her that I know. And I packed this not for him, but I knew that he was coming to see you. So this is for you. Here you go. The fun stuff with them at the house, bro. Although I don't know, them taking a bath together was a little weird, but fine.
That teetered.
I was like,
that teetered.
But they were having fun. But like, I kind of get it because she never had a
she
mom.
Asked and stuff. It wasn't like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It is understandable just because
she's a mom.
She's never had that feeling of, and she's never had that feeling of being a mom or having a mom that cared for her and washed her probably.
And to us, exactly. And that's exactly what we get when she steps out the next morning, seeing like breakfast made for her, and just starts breaking down, thinking about the most she ever got left at her actual home was a cup of noodle, a piece of dry bread, and 2 quarters.
And then she cries, and it's just like, oh, I'm there for you. I want you to stay alive.
That's what I mean, man. I hate watching this show. This show is like, if I didn't start watching this show, I wouldn't have to want this character to be alive at the end of it. But now I started watching it, and now I want this character to be alive. And if the show doesn't give me that, I might flip out.
I might go kill someone. Also, yeah, all the fun stuff, all this silliness, all the little, oh, I said it out loud. Do you want, like, she was like, am I in the middle of something? He's like, yeah. It's like so good. It's so silly. It gives this episode gives us a nice reprieve.
Perfect amount of levity and relief in a show that's very bleak and has very heavy subject matter, especially when you get, breakaway bits of it showcasing using a mannequin as a stand-in, how like somebody's timeline of murder is going to happen. Like that part is just super chilling.
Yeah.
On its own.
And I think
I'm glad that we get the moments of levity, the moments of humanity shining through all of the wickedness that happens in the show.
Yeah.
Because of whoever our unseen, unheard of culprit is still lurking about.
Oh my goodness. It's intense. I feel the anxiety. I have so many tense feelings. The police were supposed to come by today to her mom's house. Her mother's absent at work. The mom left. The teacher's there. Just all these little instances of passing, like, oh man, like tense, like, oh, is it going to happen now? How is it going to end? Whatever, all the stuff. We're still in the murder loop. The killer may be the one like using the bus as well.
Or two ships passing in the night.
Yeah, literally, pretty much. Also with the killer, because the killer's out there and he was at the bus. And also I was thinking about this. Do you think the mom had any say in what happened? Like, how do you think the mom plays into this? Because somebody took out the body and brought it back. Do you think the mom hired somebody, or do you think somebody came to the mom and said, hey, here's money and let me kill your daughter? Or do you think she wanted her daughter dead because she hates her, really? Like, what do you think her mom,
like, motive? Or what do you think the mom had to play with it? That's what
what's her...
I don't think she had anything to play with her actual murder. I think that she's definitely an abusive, physically and emotionally abusive mother that doesn't deserve her child. But I don't think that, given everything that I've seen up to this point, I don't think that she's involved with her actual murder. Okay. I think that she just she gave somebody the perfect opportunity to swoop in and commit, because they were able to be clued in on, oh, this girl that's always alone at the park at night, this girl that has an abusive mother, this girl that there's some young adult that's constantly talking to her. This is the perfect victim, so to speak. At least that's what the show has presented to me so far. That's what I think is kind of going on with that dynamic. It might come out of left field and be like, maybe the teacher and the mother were always in cahoots or something like that. And the teacher's only doing things because he knows Satoru is
trying to fuck it up.
So, being so like vocal and physically insertive of the situation, where like, I don't fully trust the teacher. I do not fully trust him. Everybody is still a suspect. Everybody's still a culprit. Nobody has clean hands, so to speak. Even just like the whole, he has that short black hair. He's a young, tall male. He like, you put a hat on him and have him tip that hat down, and he could be the same person that was standing there looking at Satoru when he was getting handcuffed. Like, I am not sold that that's not the murderer. And it could also be the fact, everybody plays a different part in it. It could be, the web is much bigger than a single spider.
That would suck.
That would suck, but
that would be the worst.
It'd be one of those things where, all right, then there's season 2.
I still don't. I mean, I hear what you're saying. I think there is some percentage that maybe the mother was, offered some amount of money or offered, something to get rid of her kid because she hates her. or she has this hate that is directed at her, and she thinks that she's the reason why all this hate is here, and she took the easy way out. So I think there's still a percentage that the mom has some sort of play in it, I think, that I'm not letting go of. Definitely. 1 second. So I gotta get that out of there. So at the end, they confront her mother, and it is the mom, it is Toru, it's the crew, and we're like,
okay,
oh shit, here we are, and the episode ends. So that is going to be a great place to come back to on the next episode. And I do want to talk about where I want to talk percentages, like what we don't know who it is, we don't know what's going on. I want to know where you're at with percentages wise on who's done it, who's the one that's behind it, and thinking about the different characters. Who's suspect number one for you right now?
Suspect number one right now.
Because we have a few. We have a lot of people that we've sort of met, people that have given information.
Like,
you've already mentioned
part
a couple.
of me just keeps saying that it's like it's the teacher, and it's I'm forgetting his name. Starts with a K. Kenya, that are just somehow there in some sort of cahoots to where they would benefit from the things that negative things happening to Hinazuki. Especially, like, I don't know, the fact that Kenya was like, I always noticed her like cuts and bruises and stuff, and I just kind of looked the other way. Like, I'm just like, bro, come on. The teacher, the whole I talked about in the last episode, a lot of the framing of him in certain shots, a lot of the motivations behind his actions and why he would feel it's okay to like confide so much in Satoru, who's just a 5th grader. Like, there's just such a air of uncertainty about the teacher that I think that he's probably my number one suspect.
Sure.
But like you said, there's the mom and the boyfriend are just also
because we only saw the boyfriend once.
Yeah, but then you also have not Hinazuki, Katagiri in the present day telling him that it's this other person, Nishizono,
who may be suspect number one, who we don't know's name, or we haven't heard the name in the past.
So, and that name also wasn't on like the suspect list that Satoru has now. But it's like, now if Nishizono, if nothing else happens with that character from this point out, that's going to be our Chekhov's gun.
Mm-hmm.
But so something has to happen with that from this point. Otherwise, it serves the narrative no purpose.
Or it's just an alternate name that we don't know about a character we already have met.
If that's the case, then sure.
Because we haven't heard
something else happening with the name for sure.
Yeah, we haven't heard the teacher's name, right? We don't know the teacher's first name. Kenya could be a nickname. I don't know. Kenya could be his last name, or Nishizono could be his title name. Kaylin saying, I'm thinking the teacher, it has to be someone Satoru's mom recognizes for sure, because the whole instance of it is that she sees the person, she thinks she knows who it is, and she tries to make the call, but they get her first. But I think she says she knows immediately. Let me play it out for you here, because you're saying, teacher, I'm like Ari right now. I really want to believe that this is a good human, that this human is actually doing it for the right reasons, that he's just a good teacher. He wants the well-being for his students because he goes and checks it out. He doesn't care. He goes in, and to some, I guess, maybe it looks like he's putting on a show for these other two people, possibly, or that he already knew she wouldn't be there. And oh, fuck. Yeah, hold on. Maybe he already knew she wouldn't be there and just kind of does that. Oh, shit. But I want to believe. I want to believe that this is a good human, that this is a good teacher. But I also really, 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 suspect number one for me is Kenya. The way to throw us, and the best possible narrative. We talk about this in wrestling a lot, where it's like, if like, for the best possible show and the best possible narrative, which I know you want, this is who has to be the champion. This is who has to win. This is the setup. For it to be a completely heart-wrenching, intense story, it has to be Kenya. And I want it to be Kenya, but then I don't. Because of how close he is, because he's sort of shifty a little bit. I don't know how he does it, but it's also somebody that his mom sees. And of course she would know his face. And of course she would be like, oh, what? I should have believed him. And I really think it's going to be Kenya. Kaylin said, if it's Kenya, then I don't understand the bus scene.
That's the thing. That's what makes me say the web could be bigger than a single spider. That's what makes me say that, is because I want Kenya is one of those prime suspects. But if Kenya is a suspect, somebody else is in cahoots with Kenya.
If Kenya,
there's stuff
then
happening in this timeline. That Kenya couldn't be responsible for. But in the future, that could be Kenya. That could be the guy in the future. And then it's like, oh, what if there was like the person that he was in cahoots with and Kenya are both like they're in synchronous with each other in the present day, and that's how they're able to continue to pull things off, framing other people, is because everybody thinks it's a guy, but it's actually some guys.
More than
I think
one.
That's going to be like the episode 9 or episode 10 or episode 11 reveal, that like, oh my, Kenya's here and he knows something that he shouldn't. That means he's responsible, but there's still somebody else.
Yeah.
That's what I'm calling out.
Oh man. I don't know.
And then who would it obviously be? The person that we've seen him as having a sides with the whole time is the teacher.
Kenya and the teacher.
There's only so many characters.
I also don't know why, like, what's the point? What's the point of killing these girls? I mean, they never said, they never said nothing happened beforehand.
Yeah.
So what's the motive to the actual like abduction and killings of them? Psychopaths?
Yeah,
I mean,
to be able to.
Yeah, I mean, yes, for sure. But like,
especially when you're doing things like spraying somebody down to have them freeze faster. Like,
but
that's
like,
just
is
something that somebody crazy wants to do to somebody.
Yeah, that's why I want to, because I haven't seen that crazy in anybody. There was like a flash of Yuki whenever he mentioned in the room, Satoru mentioned Hinazaki being like, oh, she's hanging around with us now, and he was like, and he was giving me like a little bit of weird vibes, but then it came out to be a red herring.
Yeah, well, he got nervous because he was like, hey, have you seen her? And he was like, no, like, and he starts like looking around like, why?
Yeah.
And then he was like, oh, she's been hanging around with us. And then he's like, oh, that's the best possible outcome. And to me, that was him like being worried for her well-being, being somebody that probably knows about her abuse. Like,
true, because he is older, he probably noticed. Yeah.
I can only assume that. So that's what I was taking it with the show, because the whole case of, you know, Satoru knowing that, saying deep down that it wasn't Yuki, also connects back to everything else. Having somebody that believes in you, and Satoru believes in Yuki. So like that, that I don't think it could be Yuki.
And
that's
I
like,
believe in the mom.
If it turns out that like Yuki was the person the whole time, I'll hate this show. I'll say that right on the front. Because like, what was the point of all?
What was the point of the show? Well, we don't know. But by this time next week, we will know. And by this time next week, we will have rated this anime on our scale for season 2, S through F. And you can join in. I'll be posting a link in the description of this video and of when it releases tomorrow. Hopefully, I'll get it out tomorrow. But wherever you're watching this, there should be a link. 2 polls.
Let's do a poll for the rating, and let's do a poll for who do you think did it?
Yeah.
If it's your first time watching.
So wherever you're watching this right now, if you're watching this on replay or somewhere else on YouTube or on Spotify, there will be a link there for the next episode, because you can rate the show along with us. We rate it on 3 different categories. You can rate them as well, and your vote counts. Your votes matter into the actual, you know, landscape of where it actually lands on the poll or on the ratings here for the anime for the season 2. And then we're gonna pick a brand new anime next week, so be here next week for the show. I think we're gonna do this one on Wednesday. We're going to go back to the regular schedule on Wednesday. Matt, when you are not in states of the North, where can they find you?
When I'm not here, you used to be able to find me on my Twitch, but I'm getting my YouTube account ready to start streaming over on YouTube.
Whoa.
So if you want to follow me on that, you can follow me on YouTube at Matt_Galley.
Whoa.
My socials are still the same at ITS Matt_Galley, ITS at the front. When we're not here talking about time travel and butterfly effects, where can the people find you?
You can find me on YouTube, youtube.com/JulesTheHuman. I stream on YouTube, and if you're watching this on Twitch or watching this anywhere else, go hit that subscribe button, youtube.com/JulesTheHuman. I post regular videos on here on this channel, and I go live. Been playing Overwatch again. Helldivers tomorrow. If you're watching this live, playing some Helldivers in the morning. If you want to come play, but I've been going through Nier Automata. We have memberships, the same as Twitch, but you can also find this podcast here on my YouTube channel, and you can find it on Spotify. Just look up the Jules and Matt Anime Hour on my YouTube channel. I have a playlist. It's a podcast playlist. It'll have all of our episodes from the past, but on Spotify as well, you can watch the videos. So if you're just wanting to watch on a different platform, you can listen and watch on Spotify. That's where you can find the podcast. And yeah, that's been it. And next week, we're going to end Erased episode 9 through 12. We're going to finish it. We're going to rate it. We're going to talk about it. And it's going to be a lot of fun. We'd love for you to watch those episodes along with us, episode 9 through 12 of Erased. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.